Welcome in, everyone. Joe Quills here with you on this Tuesday night for another edition of the Philly Guy Speaks. I'm back, and a lot of stuff going on in my life that really turned things upside down here. So we'll get into that a little bit, and going to try to keep it a short stream tonight, just to get myself um, back on the bicycle, so to speak. So if you're listening after the fact, um, just a small stream here, just to uh, get back on the bike, so to speak, after being away for over 2 weeks, I think it was. But um, we'll get to it here. Got a couple of interesting stories here coming up. Oakland, one team is leaving, but another team is going to be playing, even though it's not MLB. I'll tell you about that. And a local team is going to FBS, but it's not Villanova. I'll tell you about that as well. So, and if anybody joins in here tonight, we'll have time to talk as well. So, but if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, um, I did change things up a little bit, and I'll get to that after I'll get to the introductory stuff here that I want to do here. So, um, as you well know, the last couple of weeks I was canceling shows left and right. And trust me, it is not easy for me to cancel a show because, no matter what my numbers are on Spreaker, on No Filter, on YouTube, truthfully, I don't even really pay attention to numbers. But I'm a firm believer of getting your stuff out there and try to draw a crowd, even if it's turns into insanity, where we know what insanity means, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that's why I ask you guys as well, whether it's on Spreaker, on here live on No Filter, or um, or on demand on YouTube. Little little things here or there. But and hopefully I won't get too emotional here. That's because part of the reason why my shows were canceled left and right, part of it was mental health. It was just like so much stuff going on that I was like, no show. And to be fair to you guys, I tried to do it as much as possible. So I try to do it as far in advance as I can. And like, for example, the one show I canceled it like 1 o'clock for a 9:15 show. Yeah. So if you listen to the podcast after the fact, you know why that wasn't working. Why you haven't seen anything from me for 2 weeks. But my dad had been sick for a while now. I guess I could talk about it now. Yeah, he was going through dialysis, and there was all kinds of different issues that were going on where he was in and out of the hospital if he wasn't into rehab, and everything was going on. So there was a little bit of everything going on. So between that and some of the things that he did say to me that I won't divulge, because trust me, when certain things get out, people find out. Even though I think one situation that my dad was telling me about, I think the Facebook post was, you can tell so and so, or something along the lines of, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and feel free to tell so-and-so because I want them to know. So one thing is my dad said numerous times, and he said it once out of the clear blue. Don't go talking my stuff to on Facebook or blah blah blah. Well, first of all, I couldn't do it because he was on my friends list, and you know, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, like for example, I think I told you the one time, my mom, when she was alive, she was on Facebook. I got her set up on Facebook, and she saw a post when I was finishing up my bachelor's degree. I took a weather class, and I didn't even get a chance to email the professor because even though I was an online student at Drexel, um, I took two final class. I took two weather classes because I had a lab. It was a 4 credit class. I figured, okay, let me do that. So I did. So I took those 2 classes and finished up. But like weeks later, my mom goes, "Oh, you cut class one day?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, this, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I cut class." I didn't, I mean, I overslept. And when you wake up at 11:50 and the class starts at 11 o'clock, it happens. So, but I still got an A+ on the class. It was the only class I missed that was unexcused. So it was basically all you had to do was sign your name on a sheet of paper that went around. But so my dad said, "No, don't be telling my shit on Facebook." And if you had 937, congratulations, you're the lucky winner. And yeah, I'm going to be cursing a lot tonight, so probably. Um, so, um, and then he said, so and so went to who you were talking about that one Facebook post. Oh, oh well. Uh, Nice to know that somebody reads my shit. But my dad said, don't don't tell my stuff on Facebook. So, but the people that I knew that wouldn't spread word of my dad's failing health and all that stuff, they knew. So if you were in the circle, um, I considered yourself someone I could really trust. And, even if it was somebody, I'm going to mention a name here, my friend SJ up in Connecticut. Um, like I've been throwing ideas, little things here or there because, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? You know, little things like that. And also, just shooting the shit. So, um, so she kind of knew what was going on a little bit. My buddy Mike knew what was going on a little bit. A couple other ones, but it was those I knew that wouldn't go telling the whole world. And even if I did, even if there was something that rapidly changed, sometimes things were going so fast that I just didn't didn't go anywhere. I didn't even tell Mike or SJ or, like I talked to my manager about it, because what I'm about to say next. So, so on a Sunday night, which was the 12th, and I think that was that the Eagles off week? Let me just check that because I remember sitting here and I knew there wasn't an Eagles game on. Yeah, Eagles were on a bye week. Okay. So that's why I had the Red Zone channel on all day. And like, I just sat here for like a couple hours after the call. So Um, most of the time I'll get a call from my dad. Guess where I'm at? And I'll try to come up with a smart ass answer like, "Oh, you're at the I Love Massage place on North 9th Street in Chinatown, getting a happy ending." He's like, "No, I'm at the hospital." You know, and he's done that a couple of times. Sometimes he'd be there a couple of days and then he would tell me. But it would be like I'm working during the week, so he knows that if I were to see him, it would be on the weekends and blah blah blah, this that and the other thing. So, um, so Sunday I'm sitting here and I was actually watching a stream on on Twitch. I was watching Bridget Case's stream, and um, I get a call from my brother-in-law. So I'm sitting there, phone next to my laptop because putting little comments here or there, but nothing too much. I'm talking in chat of that Twitch room and all that. Um, so I get the call from my brother. I'm like, why the fuck is he calling me? Because you know, but I knew something was up because he hadn't called me in years, and I don't really talk to my sister. Um, those that are in the inner circle know what happened. Some more than others, but they know something happened. So, um, and before, I mean that Saturday as well, I was trying to call him on and off all day, couldn't get through, and um, uh, called a couple of times on Sunday. So I was like, well, so I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I'll give him one more call at 7 o'clock. And if he doesn't get through, if I don't get through, I'll call the main desk at the rehab he's at. And the reason why I thought that was because, the way my dad is, you know, he'll have the phone disappear on him. He'll have the ringer off. He'll have typical old people stuff. You know, he won't have it charged up even. Things like that. So brother-in-law calls me. Oh, your father's in a hospital. He's at this particular hospital. Okay. Um, his blood pressure's real low. It's this, it's that, and I knew right then and there he wasn't going to make it much longer. And I said, listen, I'm not off till um, I'm not off till Saturday. And also I thought I was starting to get a sore throat as well. So it's like a double fucking whammy. So um so um so like I knew this was serious. And I canceled my show on Tuesday early because I was like, things were in bad shape and blah blah blah. And actually my sisters actually texted me back and forth a little bit. So I texted Tuesday night or Monday or whatever, any updates, nothing, still the same, blah blah blah. So um so Thursday comes around. So I'm working here and um I'm starting to prepare for my show, and it was the day they announced that the Oakland A's were moving to Vegas, or it was approved, I should say. And I'm doing all this work. And there's days where I do no work, no preparation, and I just throw shit to the wall. And if it sticks, it sticks. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And this was one of my more prepared shows. I mean, I had like 30 pages worth of printouts here between a couple of different stories I wanted to talk about, you know, writing different things, typing different things. I mean, you would have been like, holy shit, Joe's prepared. So um, I get a text from my sister about 6 o'clock. Got a call from the nurse. Dad's in bad shape. I'm running to the hospital. I think you need to be there. So I knew that was the beginning of the end. So I log out from my computer. Well, log out from the one computer that I take calls on. And the other PC that I have that's work related, I set an IM. No answer. Luckily, I had the the supervisor's numbers. I texted them, and I said, "Listen, I gotta go. My dad's in bad shape. I don't think he's making it through the night." Um, so, um, so I left here, ran up to the hospital, um, and I'm proud to say that if you're the guy who took me to the hospital, I ruined your 5.0 rating because you're a fucking asshole. Now, mind you, when I went into Uber and I looked, and I was very specific because when I put the hospital name in, it just said the general information, the general door, or what looked like the general door, and it said emergency room. I purposely did not pick the emergency room because the hospital that I'm at, the emergency room is at one side of the building and the main entrance is on the other side of the building. So I'm just like, you know what? So he gets up there. I was like, well, no. This is the emergency room. I need the main the main door. And the parking lot's screwy as hell there. And I was like, you know what? Finally, I got to the point because he's arguing with me. I'm like, I'm trying to stay calm because I know if I get pissed off, I get a 1-star rating. He'll probably report me because I'm arguing with him. So I'm like, you know what? It ain't worth it. I need this Uber ride. I'm going to need an Uber ride in the near future. And I was like, he goes, show me where to go. I was like, okay, I think you got to go over here. And then I saw a little opening, but there was a dumpster. I was like, you know what? Let's cut our losses here. You can just let me out here. We'll figure the rest. We'll figure the rest out. So I said, thank you. And I still would have gave the guy a tip, but he probably thinks I'm a cheap asshole. Oh well. That is because I didn't open the Uber app until yesterday. So like 10 days later. So it's like, whatever. So it's like, 10 days after the fact, I'm not worried about it. We will go from there. So I end up going to the hospital, seeing my dad. And before you know it, they were like, oh, we're going to put him in comfort care, which basically is there's nothing else we can do. And, my sister went through it with my mom. She was there first and blah, 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 whatever. And, I listened in. I felt, hey, I'm the son. I'm actually the older kid, but but my sister likes to be in charge. And I'm just like, do whatever. Something like this. I mean, even though I'm just like, do whatever you want. So, so they took the breathing tube out. Um, they took the dialysis off, and um, and we were expecting him to pass away right away. And this was about 7:30 that they did that, and we sat there till about 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, we even made a pit stop at Wawa because my sister wanted to eat. I'm like, screw it, I'll get something to eat too. So I got something small, she got something, and but we decided to leave at 1 o'clock in the morning. And we said, you know what? My sister said, I'll go up there at 6 o'clock in the morning when the doors open, when the main doors open again, because we had to go into the emergency room and go through a maze of things to get to the elevator. But um, I fell asleep on the rocker behind me about 2 o'clock. I did find out that my dad also had a heart issue. Now, I said this to Miss Robin Austin when she called me um, last week or so. I said, my dad had COVID a couple of times, and you know, and I'm going to tell you one thing, because COVID, you could have a heart issue from COVID, this, that, and the other thing. So the one thing I did say was, um, you know, um, he had a heart valve issue. And I told her, I said, you know, it got sprung on me. It probably was mentioned to me once before, but um, I found out at like 1:30 in the morning when my brother-in-law's bringing me back to my apartment. So I'm like, everything's making sense. And they said, oh, he's a candidate for a heart valve replacement or whatever the verbiage he used. So, um, but my brother-in-law called me at 6:30 in the morning, and he told me that my dad had passed away, and he's sorry, and blah blah blah. And you know, I mean, I wasn't there when he passed away, but I'm not complaining about it because of the fact that um, because of the fact that um, we did stay there till like 1 o'clock. I was there, and he got the call, and the last 2 weeks have been all over the place, and I I basically sat here for a week, um, but I mean I get three funeral days. The manager said, "Oh, if you need more time, just let me know. I'll help you out. It may not be a paid day, but truthfully, at that point, who gives a shit?" But I was like, because I went through it with my grandmother, um, went through it with my mom back in 2016, and with my dad. And I told him, I told my manager, I said, I think all I really need is the 3 days because because I scheduled days off in there because I ended up with the Tuesday off before Thanksgiving. I wanted the Wednesday off. You're not getting Wednesday off in my department, in my office for that. So I had like a week long grieving period, and I helped my sister um, with the post post-death stuff. Let's just say that. Well, the cremation. All right, I'll say cremation. So, um, so, so little by little, things, you know, and I talked to a few people here and there. Um, I know I was on the phone with SJ for a good 45 minutes to an hour. And I feel bad because she had to go to a Friendsgiving or Friends function or whatever you want to call it. I don't think it was Friendsgiving, but she had pictures on her page about it. But the one thing I said to her, I think I said to my buddy Mike, I said to a couple other people, I think I said to Miss Robin too. I said, what will be the toughest part will be when the weekends come along. Because that's when my dad would call me. And especially this time of the year, because Gulfstream's starting earlier, Aqueduct's starting earlier. Um, Actually, all the Eastern tracks are starting earlier, especially the ones that don't have lights, because of the whole time change thing and the sun setting by about 4:45 at the very latest. So you're compromised by the winter months and the lack of sunlight in a given day. So haven't had any moment yet with expecting my dad to call 11:30ish in the morning. So, be like, hey, play all the fives at Aqueduct. Play the threes here, play the twos here, whatever. And that's what he did a lot of times. So, but I do want to thank everybody who reached out in some way, shape, or form because, everything got turned upside down. I mean, I knew the time was going to come. I mean, it's just like anything else. You just don't know when. But I did want to talk about that because, with everything that was going on with my dad, that was the main reason why, I was like, I just can't do the show tonight. I gotta take the night off. And but I sat here. I did almost nothing for 5 days. I mean, I did a couple of things here and there, but nothing that would be like, like if somebody were spying on me, let's say, it wasn't like, oh, what's Joe doing at Parks on a Monday when he's supposed to be working? I know he's not on vacation yet. He's not on vacation for another 2 weeks. And if you would, let's play that scenario out. Let's say I did do that. I had a good enough reason, and I would have shown the article. Now, and I talk about this with my friend Nicole, who's a former co-worker of mine. When she was manager at the time, she caught wind of somebody faking an illness. And, it was all just a matter of, oh, I thought this and blah, blah, blah. They knew what they were doing. But, and I joke around to her, even though she wasn't the one that fired the person, it was the second level manager that fired them, even though I think she didn't technically get fired. It's like, well, we're going to give you this package instead. So I think that's what happened. Don't quote me on that, but that's a topic for another time that will not be for public consumption. But I forgot what I was going with that. And that's why that's when the ADD ADHD kicks in. So, um, but you know, oh, okay, I know what it was. So the one thing I did for 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because I had money in my account from the Breeders' Cup. Some people go on benders. Some go on alcohol. Some drugs. I went on a 3-day horse racing bender. Now, if you were to see the betting history of the 3 days, it was very controlled. It wasn't like I was betting 15 different tracks and like, oh, I got to play this one. I got to play this one. And then that huge amount that in my account ended up being nothing. But I played 3 days worth of horses, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, as a coping mechanism. It's not a 1-800 gambler thing. So, like I tell you, bet within your means. And I was betting within my means. I was hitting left and right. And I had all kinds of things going on. And let me tell you, those the stuff in the great beyond, that was in full effect for like a week. I'm sitting here and I got very little sleep Thursday night into Friday morning. And I just said, screw it. I got that call. I'm just going to stay up. So I played music for a couple hours and I fell asleep for like an hour in the rocker and started doing a couple of things and finally went to the computer. So I finally turned the TV on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Like I said, one thing my dad used to do with me a lot was play the 5-horse for me. Play the 5. First 2 races I see on TV, a race at Churchill, a race at Laurel. 5 horses win. Random races, first 2 races I saw, boom, boom. And I'm like, well, they're talking to me. And then Saturday, I decide I don't feel like making breakfast. I'm going to walk over to the Dunkin' a couple blocks away. I'm going to get my usual breakfast. I'm just going to come back and I'm just going to relax and, do my grieving and whatever I want to do just to try to get back to normal. And that wasn't a cry for those that were listening. That was a yawn. But if you're watching on YouTube, you got to see me yawn. But I put in my order. And what I usually do is I'm standing here ready to leave. I got my coat on and everything, and I'm ready to go. I get the order number, because usually I check the order number, even though it's like Joe Q on there. It's like, okay, that's me. I don't even check the number, but very eerie. As I had it gives you 3 digits on the app. The actual receipt will have 4 numbers. The 3 digits I had on there was 126. That's my mom's birthday. So I'm like, things are really going weird. Things are, you know, they're talking to me. So, um, so I was like, wow. And I told Miss Robin that when she had called me, I think it was that Saturday night, I think, because I text her, I said, because Friday night Friday afternoon I listened to Tony Bruno's show on the Tony Bruno Sports Network, and then then I watched his show Friday night on No Filter, right here on No Filter, and I texted Miss Robin and I said, thank you for this show tonight. I really needed it just to let you know my dad passed away. And I think she called me the next day or whatever, but I told it had to be Saturday. It was either Saturday or Sunday. And I told her, all the different things that were going on. And she agreed, they're telling you, they're talking to you, they're telling you everything's okay and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. So I did have that going on. So then Monday comes along and I'm playing a track that my dad would never play in 100 years. And that's because it's not a track that's one of those first tracks out on a typical day that he would wager. And that track was Zia Park in New Mexico, in Hobbs, New Mexico. I think it's safe to say that that area is bumblefuck there. So I'm just trying to pull up the information here for the one race here. What day was it? It was 20th. So first race I play, and even though once in a while I may play a horse by name, if it's like 3 minutes to post and I'm just watching randomly and I see the graphic and I see, oh, such and such horse is running, or you have Uncle Ernie running, who's been missing in action the last couple of months. I landed on the 7 horse because I wasn't playing. I wasn't playing my dad's 5s. I'm looking to make money, and sometimes my dad would make money. He come to me and say, "Hey, I had the 5 horse at Parks, and played it randomly, didn't know what was going on, what the odds were. Next thing you knew, I had $200 in my account because the horse was 50-1 or something like that." So I'm like, congratulations. And I'm like, fuck you. But I did not play it by name. And some people will say, yeah, right, Joe. Name of the horse was Our Soaring Angel. Now, if that wasn't a sign, I don't know what is. But that horse won. And then I had 5 winners on the card. There's that number 5 again. I went 5 for 10 playing the races. I was starting to get back into the groove, and then everything fell apart on Wednesday. Then one race, I think it was the 4th or 5th race, and I landed on the 5 for that race. And once again, it was the horse I liked. It wasn't anything to do with my dad liking to play 5s or a particular number on a particular day. It was because I liked the 5. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right, my 5's going to win this. And here comes the 6. Boom, beats me at the wire. And I'm like, you motherfucker. And then I sit back for a moment. Wait a second. That's Dad's birthday, 6/5, June 5th. So I'm like, there we go again. Something else they're telling. But, you know, haven't had any moments from the great beyond, but, but it was happening left and right over the first few days. And, if you're the type of person that believes in that stuff, you know, I agree with you that my parents were talking to me uh, from the great beyond for the last couple of days. But my dad is with my mom now. Once again, thanks for everybody who took the time to um, talk to me, offer condolences, whatever. Um, my dad was 79 years old. Some people will say, "Oh, that's too young." That's a full life. Um, I hope I get to 79. Yeah, but hopefully I get there. I'm not trying to be morbid or anything. It's just you just don't know. I mean, my God, yesterday I'm walking down the street so I can go to the lab core, and this old lady goes right through a red light, almost caused a 3-car accident. It almost hit me. So I'm not being morbid or anything, but you never know when your time's going to come. When your time's going to come, whether it's because of health reasons or a tragic accident or a crime that kills you or anything like that. But I do want to thank everybody who reached out. I mean, I even had um, people on Twitter reach out because I even posted on there because let people know what was going on, and I'm sure when I go to the Christmas party that I'm planning on going to in a couple of weeks. St. Joe's Prep, by the way. Um, I know if I go there in a couple of weeks, I'm going to get some condolences there as well. So do want to thank everybody who reached out, and you know, um, my dad's no longer in pain. My dad's no longer having any more of the health issues. He's at peace. I'm okay with it. And the reason why I'm back tonight is because I knew that eventually I had to get back on the bike, so to speak. So I do want to thank everybody who reached out in whatever way you did, because even though I knew it was coming, it still shocks the system. And hopefully, I'm okay with having a silent phone around 11:30, except for a text message or a news alert or an email alert or anything like that. But I'm okay with everything right now, and everything will be okay with me. And you do find out when there's adversity who your friends are, who your family is, stuff like that. So um, you find out who the good people are and who are the pieces of shit. And luckily, no pieces of shit were exposed. So, so I do want to thank everybody as well. Once again, as we go get off of this topic here onto a couple of different topics here as we continue on here. Um, so if you're watching, whether it's here on No Filter or on YouTube, you'll notice my screen's a little bit different. I do have an information thing there. I do have that. I did. And funny story how, funny story with, little things I was doing. So I decided to reset my laptop because, I was running a little funny. I was like, you know what? Let's start from scratch and I'll do this, this, and that, and go from there. So when I did the reset, it came up with a program called Camo, CAMO, and it's a um, camera program that apparently Windows offers. Um, so when I must have updated, I must have downloaded that program, and I ended up playing around with it on the laptop. I was like, you know what? I need to get this on my desktop that I'm talking to you on right now. Um, so if you're watching after the fact, um, or you're listening in and you want to join me on No Filter, join me, watch my shows on YouTube, whatever. That box is going to be there from now on, as long as the Camo program will work for me, because it'll give you all the information I have here. Uh, my logo, my name, uh, bleacherbrothers.com, the email if you want to reach out to me, because the one thing I tell you guys is constructive criticism is what I want to hear. I don't want to hear you're an asshole. Well, I know I'm an asshole. Tell me why I'm an asshole, and maybe I can improve my personality. Little things like, hey, Joe, try this. And that's what I believe in. I believe in those little things because constructive criticism can be good, and it's something you can build on. And I also have on there my Twitter handle on there, which is also my Instagram handle, Joe Quills, um, and Philadelphia, because I am the Philly guy. This is the Philly guy speaks and whatever. Um, so we do have that new look. I do have this new look here going forward, and I really like how I set this up going forward. And you can contact me. If you want to contact me by email, I may not get back to you right away because I forgot the password. So I gotta get my password reset. I just haven't gotten around to sending the email to the proper channels to get that fixed. But those are the ways that you can get a hold of me. Uh, and especially if you're watching live, you can um, see everything there. So that's the case there. And do want to mention the one thing that I really wanted to talk about. And of course, I had like 30 sheets of paper that I trashed when I got back from the hospital Thursday night. Um, I had did all that work of like showing that basically it's the same thing. It's lack of attendance, but we know why the last couple of times, because it's more fresh in my memory, because I actually experienced Montreal moving to Washington and now Oakland starting the process officially to move to Vegas. So we do have that. So um, so I had all these different things right now, and it was bad records, lack of attendance, wanting a new stadium. Well, Oakland didn't want a new stadium; they just wanted to get out. And it was we know the Oakland Coliseum is a shithole. We know that the water backs up. We had possums in the visiting broadcast booth and everything, um, but you know, but they did. Major League Baseball did approve it. I was thinking that maybe there would be somebody who would say no, because a lot of people were saying let Vegas have let's Vegas have that um, have an expansion team so they can start a new stadium from scratch in 2028 or 2029 or whenever baseball decides on doing that. But you did have and a unanimous vote. And you do have um, you did have the unanimous vote. Because I was thinking, are they going to side with the owner, with the mayor of Oakland, or are they going to side with the owner? I think baseball voted on it not because of the owner wanting to move out. I think it was more because of the fact that you have a owner going to a new market. It's like, Vegas market, hockey doing well, football not doing well in terms of on the field, but off the field, I imagine they're doing okay, especially being in the NFL. And Oakland, the A's wanted to move there. Boom. So, so they'll be going to Las Vegas in 2020. They got one more year in Oakland, and they're going to have that 25, 26, 27 years where we just don't know what they're going to do. I'm still telling you that I think that I would not be surprised if the mayor says, or the landlord, which is the Alameda County, something or other. So I don't know if the mayor's in control or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, within the next couple of weeks, they just say, get out. And since it is Giving Tuesday, gotta give everybody one of those that I feel deserve it. Not my fellow Bleacher Brothers crew or anything like that, but you know, it is Giving Tuesday. And it's called Giving the Bird, so I had to do it. So, um, so yeah, so I just, we're going to have a couple years where we don't know what's going to happen. Um, Do they move to San Francisco and share the stadium for a year or two? Do they play in the minor league stadium where their AAA team is? But the only problem is that's outdoors only. So you're going to have those summer days where it's going to be 120 degrees. Um, but like they say, it's a dry heat. But, little by little, you know, um, but, you do have, um, you know, they are going to move to Vegas. And I think we can now say with Tampa getting their stadium, Oakland moving to Vegas, I think we're at the point where we are eventually going to see expansion baseball because Rob Manfred um, did say that they did have, once all the stadium issues are resolved, we'll start the expansion process. And I think Milwaukee did get the funding for their stadium renovations as well. So I think that we do not have any real issues except for Chicago. But I think that the Chicago White Sox situation, I did mention that on a show a couple of months ago, that it's possible that they could move with the Bears to Arlington Park. So that's something that we could see coming up. Because they could probably extend the lease for in the short term, like 3, 4, 5 years maybe, and say, okay, well, if you extend the lease, we'll do this, but we're out at the end of the lease and we're building a new stadium. So, but I think that we're going to see expansion probably by 2030. You'll probably announce teams within the next couple of years or the start of the process and whatever. So, but the reason why I mentioned that trade is because there was another story that came out today that Oakland will have a baseball team next year for the foreseeable future. And that is, and I'm going to share my screen here just so I can show the logo here. That new team is, and if I had a drum roll, I would play it. No, I don't want to share the video I was playing just to get myself in the mood. The Oakland Ballers or the Bees. I think that's a play on the Oakland A's because it's like this is going to be our team, our community, blah blah blah. But I did want to share that the Oakland Bees or the Ballers will be in the they will be in the Pioneer League, I think it was. And I'm looking at a couple of different things right now because the one thing I want to do is I want to get back into streaming gaming. And when the new Out of the Ballpark 25 comes out next year, I want to do promotion relegation and I want to have that. So they're in the Independent Pioneer League starting this upcoming summer, wearing the same green as gold as the Oakland Athletics. So yeah, so they're going to be playing in the Pioneer League, which is an independent league, but it is a league which is an MLB partner league. So they test out different rules. They it's players that could be signed to a minor league deal at any time or anything like that. So they're going to be in the Pioneer League. So they're going to have to create a 12th team for next year. Even if they do a minor league, do a road team, a team that plays on the road year round, kind of like here in the Atlantic League, which was the independent league that the Camden River Sharks and the Atlantic City Surf were in. You did have a presence with an independent league where we need a guy. We see this guy's really doing well. He's improved at this. We want to sign him. Something like that. So it's a developmental league for those that are not on a minor league roster. It's an opportunity to get your feet back into Major League Baseball or affiliated minor league baseball. So, but the Atlantic League did have a couple of times the Pennsylvania Road Warriors, which were a road team that went from site to site and played this season as the 8th team at that time because the Atlantic League is now up to 11 teams, but one's on hiatus. But just give you an idea of what was going on in Oakland because they are going to have a team. I think I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of years they have a AA or AAA team because I wouldn't be surprised if they build on that plot of land that they wanted to build the Oakland Stadium and just have a minor league team there. So, but that was an interesting story that I saw today when I was looking around earlier today while I was working. Actually, I saw that earlier than that, but it was something interesting that I saw. And one other thing I did see today that was very interesting. The state of Delaware can no longer call itself a state without an FBS school. That is because on July 1st, 2025, the University of Delaware is leaving the Coastal Athletic Conference, which is the conference formerly known as the Colonial. They changed the name over the summer because of the fact that the way that their mid-major or small college schools along the East Coast, that they said, hey, nobody has Coastal Conference or Coastal Athletic Association. So we're going to change our name. It's not going to, and I'm sure that they talked about it for years, but they're now the Coastal Athletic Conference, and the University of Delaware will be making the move in 2025 to Conference USA, and it will be an interesting situation for the University of Delaware because they only have a 22,000 seat stadium. I don't know what the other conferences are of the other schools in the conference. I didn't look into that today, but I find it interesting, and I'll probably be watching a lot of Delaware football. And the AD at the school did say instead of having our games on Flow Sports, which is an online streaming service, I believe, they're going to have games on ESPN, on ESPN Plus. Conference USA, I think, is also occasionally on CBS Sports Network. Andre, welcome in. Um, just some things that, and I just find it interesting because, um, a team that was a FCS powerhouse for years is making the move to um, to the big time. And it kind of shocked me because I'm figuring, that I mean, once in a while you hear something every now and then. Like for example, I heard um, Temple a few years ago. Uh, there were rumors, and you could ask me a million, you could talk to me a million times about it. It's like, Joe, they weren't going to take him. But there were rumors in the Philadelphia Daily News a couple of years ago that the Big 12 was trying to move east and try to get a partner with West Virginia in having Temple move there and move into the Big 12. Uh, it didn't happen. It was also the time when they were trying to get the on-campus stadium started, which they never did. All because the neighbors are like, oh, we have enough problems with the school and blah blah blah, whatever. But um, but yeah, it's an interesting move, and I was reading the article, and you get they're projecting 40 times more the eyes watching their games, and be a recruiting tool and all that. But and it was a well thought out process, and at least for me, it was something that they kept under the rug for however many years they did it because you just don't you just don't decide to just move. And there, I did read today that it's going to cost them $5 million just to reclassify. I think the amount before a year or two ago was only $5,000. So, um, so they'll have one more year, uh, one more academic year before they move into Conference USA. Delaware will not be eligible for any conference championships in the 24-25 academic year. Um, but I thought that, they gave X amount of time. They would still be eligible for the conference tourneys for the Coastal Athletic Association. I can see once we get to basketball season and I start talking about, I'm taking Drexel here, I'm picking Delaware here, I'm picking this school in the conference. I'm going to be calling it the Colonial all year. So when I do my Philly Fade picks on Thursday nights, be prepared. I'm going to be calling it the Colonial, even though it's now the Coastal. So, but um, but I had all, I mean, I would have thought, maybe the American, because, you got a lot of teams there that are winnable games. And also, you would have an instant backyard rivalry with Temple because Delaware, the University of Delaware is in Newark, Delaware, and it's only half an hour away. It's like 10 minutes away from one of my favorite places during the summer, and that's Delaware Park Racetrack. Uh, um, you're not far away. Um, and the way that they explained it is, even though Conference USA is so spread out, they do have um, they do have a lot of um, opportunities to fly to different places because of the fact that they are smack dab between two major airports. You have Philly, about 35 minutes north and east of the campus, and you got BWI, about 45 minutes to an hour to the south and southeast of Newark, Delaware. So, I mean, it's an interesting thing. Um, and I think they are going to struggle the first 2 years because it isn't like James Madison, and unfortunately, the hiatus I had, it killed a great topic I would have had. I would have had, I would have been talking about James Madison and how the the transition years that they have in basketball and in football, the two main sports. I know and I know that they have it in mostly all the sports. It's just that they're the ones that um, get the most pub. Baseball, football, not baseball because I don't know what baseball does. Well, we'll find out because Delaware does have a baseball team, but Delaware does have an opportunity to grow their athletic department. You can talk about many different things as well, because most schools do not make money. Most FBS schools don't make money. Most Division I schools don't make money. Um, but you do have an opportunity for them to get their name out there, find a conference that is suitable to them, and go from there. But I find it interesting, and you know, and of course, when 2025 rolls around, I'll be like, they're playing Jacksonville State, which is a new team in Conference USA. That is a Conference USA school, right? Yeah, yeah, it had to be because I picked them Saturday and they lost. Because I was watching Bridget Case's stream on Twitch. Yeah, Jacksonville State, which is actually in Alabama. Uh, but James Madison, um, they were not allowed to play in a bowl game because they were in that 2 year transition period. The only way James Madison can get into a bowl game is if there's not enough teams to fill the bowl slots that did not win 6 games this year. And I haven't done any homework on that, so I don't know if that's going to happen. But with the timing of everything that went on in my personal life, um, it just ruined. I shouldn't use the word ruin, but you get the idea. It ruined a great opportunity for me to say, "Hey, listen, NCAA needs to fix some of these things because, um, you know, pay the $5 million, okay, but you know what? If you want to play in a bowl game in a postseason, even though it's extortion, why not make it 10 million, something like that, just so that you can have, you don't have a situation. Delaware doesn't get into a situation like James Madison did, where they were 10-0. Would have been before the Appalachian State game if this was not a transition year, possibly the Group of 5 school who would have been the highest ranked, which would have led them to playing in a New Year's game. Can you imagine their first bowl game being a New Year's Six game? I mean, they would have gotten destroyed, but I mean, kind of like Coastal Carolina, they got on the football map because of the pandemic. Um, but whatever you see here, um, it's an opportunity for Delaware, and I hope it's a situation where they can thrive in Conference USA in all sports. I mean, now granted, they have sports that Delaware offers sports that Conference USA doesn't have, so they will say, okay, well, we'll be an affiliate for this other conference, and they will play in that particular conference. Like for example, um, this is something that was discussed at one time because my one friend Rob Orwello, uh, one of the schools he went to, I think he went to Hopkins and he went to master school somewhere else, but whatever it was, he went to Hopkins, and I told him the one day a few years back when Drexel was in the lacrosse tournament, I said, listen, if it's Hopkins and Drexel in the next round, but they both lost in the same round, I was telling them, I was like, listen, we're going to have a friendly wager, just something stupid like, okay, the loser has to put the winning team's logo as a profile pic on Facebook, for example, something like that. Nothing harmless, nothing like, oh, you gotta, like some of the stories that you hear on fantasy football. Nothing like that. But Drexel, Delaware's going to be an affiliate at a couple of different schools, a couple of different conferences for their teams that don't, where Conference USA doesn't offer the sport. So they'll be an affiliate with another conference, and that happens all the time. Um, Johns Hopkins, which I mentioned, they play lacrosse in the Big Ten. They're an affiliate there. So if you're watching in the spring and you're like, wait a second, Hopkins is in the Big Ten, it's just for lacrosse. Because every once in a while you do that. Because, like, for example, Arizona State, I'm not sure if they're there anymore, but their ice hockey team for a couple of years had been in the Big Ten, but I don't know where they stand on that in the future. So, but a little interesting thing that came up with the University of Delaware, and I mentioned fantasy football. My ESPN team clinched the number one seed, won my ninth in a row, 11-1. Um, had to sweat the Minnesota defense because I started them this week. I left a shit ton of points on the. I mean, when you score 147 points and you still leave a shit ton of points on the board, yeah, that's the reason why my team's 11-1. But like Mike Abadir talked to me after the game, you know, um, just a little different, just some banter back and forth last night after the end of the game. Because he's the guy, he's the reason for the league because of his show and all the guys that are in that league. So, but some of the little things that are going on behind the scenes, and you can catch my articles on BleacherBrothers.com. What I would recommend, and I'm going to write an article probably tomorrow because I think I'm going to write about the Friday Gulfstream race, which is just an allowance race, and I'll explain what the allowance is. Uh, in my words, I could be totally wrong the way I write it, but whatever. But I am the degenerate of Bleacher Brothers, apparently. And I've been writing horse racing articles. I wrote 3 articles this week, and just to give you an idea of going back to Dad here before I close out here. I do want to mention that I did have a article, and it was a bit of a tearjerker. A couple of people were like, "Wow," with it. I mean, And the one thing I would recommend as well, when you go to Bleacher Brothers, comment on there. Let's have a fun conversation on there as well, even if it's my article or it's Lucha's article or the three, four, five, or however many different writers we have now that are writing for us with internships and getting um, getting their foot in the door, putting something in on their resume, stuff like that. So that's something, you know, check us out, and you know, maybe it's a different point of view from what you expect from ESPN, uh, SI.com, whatever site you use. Come on over to Bleacher Brothers. We have some interesting things on there, and yeah, and also the Bleacher Brothers are going to be on the Tony Bruno Sports Network as of this Monday. Where I fall into that, I am not sure. I don't know if it's going to be an occasional guest spot. Um, I can tell you right now that I do have work issues for the month of December. Well, not next week because I'm on vacation when it starts, but I work till 9 o'clock. The show is from 8 to 10, Monday through Thursday. So I may pop in there for a segment or as a co-host or whatever AJ decides to do. And we're gonna be having a shit ton of meetings probably this week as well. Thankfully, tomorrow is my last day of work before vacation, or as I called it, the last staycation of the year. But the one thing I would recommend, check out bleacherbrothers.com. Got a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of interesting articles, and you got the degenerate myself who will be looking at different races. And what I'm doing right now with Bleacher Brothers is I am picking one race a day, and it's the race of the day that they have on the daily racing forum. So I don't have to download 18 programs and say, well, this Saturday we have this race at Aqueduct and we have this race at Gulfstream and we have this and we have that, because I'm not spending a shit ton of money. I'm just doing what I have to do. And it's a little fun article. It's a mythical money. And the first two articles I wrote, I read the races properly, read the races just as they ran. It was just that the horses just didn't finish the way I expected. Last week I went 0 for 3. I promised a Sunday article. Oops. Because I went back to work. And Daily Racing Forum has been a pain in the ass some of the days with posting what their feature race is. So that's part of the reason why. So it wasn't completely me. It was the timing and everything like that, because I will do this because I'm going to probably write that Tuesday, tomorrow night, or maybe even tomorrow while I'm working. I won't be able to write it before 2 o'clock because I got a conference call at 1:30, a video conference call at 1:30, a team meeting, so to speak. So, I gotta make it look like I'm not, downloading porn or, hey, is Joe downloading porn there? First of all, no, not on that computer. And also, I have much more other important things to do on my laptop on there, like streaming somebody's show on Twitch, on No Filter, whatever. I do have everything there. So, and sometimes you get those days where I have the TV watching one thing, I'm watching something else, and then something else on top of that. So many different things going on where it's just like I got to have 3 different screens going to watch all this stuff at the same time. So, but those are the first world problems we have in today's 21st century America. 21st century sports fan. So, but check out bleacherbrothers.com, and you'll always be reminded in the near future because they'll have that on the screen. So, so I did want to have a short stream tonight because I just wanted to get back on the bike, and I didn't know how my emotions would be. Thankfully, they were in check. Not gonna lie, I got a little misty-eyed there talking about it. I talked for a good half an hour about that. So, but it's good to be back, and I'll be back on Thursday. And if I have any news with Bleacher Brothers, the Bleacher Brothers Show, and the Tony Bruno Sports Network, I'll let you know. But my job comes first because that's my income, and everything else. So, so you can reach me out. Joe Quills on Twitter. Joe at bleacherbrothers.com. I just got to get into email. So if I don't get to you in a couple of days, I'm not ignoring you. It's just something that me showing my Polish heritage and forgetting what the password is. So, so that is it for now. Glad to be back. Clear-minded. And Dad, thank you. And do appreciate everything you did for me over 50 years. So, so that is it for now. And check me here Thursday at my usual 9:15 time. I started at 9:30 tonight because I just wanted to collect my thoughts before the show started, which turned into me looking around for different things. So, so I do want to thank everybody for watching after the fact, listening after the fact, and tuning in. Do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for allowing me that time to grieve, to prepare myself for what was happening and what did happen. And you're all good people out there, and I do appreciate each and every one of you. So that is it for now. Joe Quills signing out here. Check out Bleacher Brothers, Joe Quills on Twitter. And yes, I refuse to call it X, so fuck you, Elon Musk. So have a great night, everybody. Catch you on Thursday here on nofilter.net. Philly Guy Speaks is part of the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Good night, everybody.